Hi Griffin Scopers, welcome into the little sound booth on this very stormy thunder and lightning Sunday morning where we're going to be having a look at another royal. So this one's quite an interesting character, I feel, and she's very resilient whether we loathe her or like her. We're looking at Fergie today. This is somebody that I grew up with. So Fergie's quite an affectionate name actually. It's not a derogatory term at all, although the press did give her plenty of labels that were derogatory. So that's what we're doing. If you would like to subscribe to the channel, that helps keep the content coming to you. If anybody would like a private read, email address is in the description box. Let's have a look at her cards and see what she's got. So we're starting first of all with Fergie's character cards, and she is the Justice, which is the Libra card. She's born in October, and she is also the High Priestess. And we're going to start, I think, with the High Priestess. Why not? So Sarah, I feel, is not a serene keeper of wisdom. This one's a very inward looking card, ruled by the moon. The Justice is all about logic and much more outward looking. So she's kind of like the crow in a way that clawed her way through scandal, debt, disgrace, and still yet manages to sit within a slight veil of mystery. When you look at the pentacle etched into the moon there, then for me that kind of represents her curse, money, or rather the lack of money. She's kind of like a duchess who racked up debts, hustled side deals, and was caught trying to sell access to Prince Andrew. I think that was back in 2010. Yeah, she sold access for cash. And the pentacle for Fergie isn't really prosperity. It's kind of like the trap that she could never quite climb out of. So her lesson, one of them, has been learning about money and materialism, gratitude as well, being grateful for what you do have. No title, no crown, no ex-husband can protect you if your foundation is built on sand. So just like the myth of Persephone, she kind of descended, Fergie did, into the underworld, which is, one of the things that the High Priestess is quite a difficult energy, this one, to navigate, because you've got the light and the shadow. So Fergie went into the shadow side, just like I said, with Persephone's myth, and descended into that underworld of shame, mockery, and to some extent exile. And like Persephone, Fergie came back from the underworld, from the shadow side, not crowned in jewels, but learnt her superpower, which was survival, because it is a bit of a hero's journey going into the shadow side. So the moon energies haven't been calm tides for her, in the way that she never kind of stays in one place. So just like the tides rise and fall, just like the moon kind of disappears and returns, the moon kind of pulls out secrets and lies, just like the tides pulling wreckage from the seabed. Everything comes to the surface. So her affairs, her debts, her desperation at times, like the moon, dragged it all into the spotlight. And each scandal was like a full moon for Fergie, everything exposed and no longer hidden. Then the dark moon comes, the kind of exile, the silence, the disappearance for a bit. But the moon always grows again, waxes and it wanes, and thus Fergie reappears with things like books, TV projects, charity work, even wellness brands. I think she did Weight Watchers as well for a time. And just when the world thinks that she's kind of faded into the shadow, she does always seem to rise again. And the life lesson for her is about learning to ride the tides that go with this moon energy, not drown in them. The moon's cycles made her victim and survivor all at once, all together. And Fergie is the high priestess of the moon's shadow, not serene, not untouchable, but it feels like she's almost dragged by every tide. She lives in cycles. So there's exposure and then retreat, humiliation and then reinvention. The high priestess does guard mysteries. We've got this veil here that she, sits in. And at times, the veil has been very thin with Fergie. The cruelest part of her life, I feel, is at times that veil was totally ripped down, ripped open, every mistake, every scandal, every dollar owed, dragged into the light of the full moon for public consumption. And she didn't get to hide behind the mystery of the veil always, and she had to kind of survive the exposure. So Fergie, as the high priestess, not a symbol of purity, she's the warning and the lesson. The crow that ate all the forbidden fruit, all the pomegranates here, which are also seen on the Lover's card as well. And she squandered the pentacle money. I can remember again when I was growing up, one of the labels put on her by the press was Freebie Fergie, because she loved going on all these luxurious holidays, as did Andrew. So it's like she spilt the cup as well, with the affairs, the heartbreaks, the dubious friendships. She yielded that sword there, look, and her honesty at times too raw, too cutting, opening wounds that a duchess wasn't supposed to open, really when she should have kept her mouth shut. I'm thinking of the time when she went on opera after her divorce from Andrew in the 1990s, it was at some point, and openly talked about how awful life was in the royal family, saying that she felt judged and scrutinised and stifled, held back, which I'm sure she did, but that should have been held behind the curtain, behind the veil. That level of cutting bluntness fed the press. There was a total frenzy that happened, and it was the type of subject and the type of wound, that should have stayed in mystery. So where Camilla learned to play silent and controlled, as I was talking about in my last reading, Fergie was much more raw and outspoken. While it makes Fergie seem human and to some extent honest, it also made her a dangerous liability to the institution. Instead of damage control, she kind of laid all her flaws bare, and it was a free-for-all as far as the press were concerned. So the wand down here would be Fergie's fire energy, the fire in the ashes, the wand that keeps her moving, always rebuilding, always innovating, and her energy, her creativity and willpower at times seem unstoppable. So as a 2, which is what the High Priestess governs, she will relate to all the 2s in the tarot, in her life story. And the 2s are about duality, choices, tension between the extremes, and kind of like the balance of opposites. Whoa. So here we've got the 2 of Pentacles, And I kind of feel like Fergie's life is a living map of the Two of Pentacles energy. And when we break it down, we can see how Fergie has juggled her finances. You know, 1 minute it's up, the next minute it's down. 1 minute she's got money, the next minute she hasn't. Her entire life, you know, she's been juggling this act, money slipping through her fingers, like I was saying about the lavish holidays. I mean, Librans do love nice things as well. The overspending, her love of buying flowers. And she very much danced on the edge of ruin for a lot of her life. The card also reflects the highs and the lows and the balancing act with her relationship with Andrew, which is complicated. And because we get that lemniscape, it's a karmic relationship as well. The discs are always spinning. It's a delicate dance of love and conflict where every step could just tip the balance over the edge into scandal and into chaos. In the Two of Swords, we see a crow teetering between the blades of two swords, and the crow's actually wearing a blindfold. This scene looks so so uncomfortable and precarious. One move, again, one action made in the wrong direction could actually cut this crow to pieces. So the crow must stay balanced while making choices that it doesn't want to have to make. She needs to use her intuition. We know that because she's the High Priestess. And not ignore it. So all the while, knowing the emotional undercurrents here. I mean, look, it's like a swimming pool, all that water. The undercurrents kind of put her in some sort of survival mode. The misstep that could potentially happen, the wrong choice, could be her undoing in an instant. So with the Two of Cups, excuse me guys, got a tickle in my throat. So this is, we see a heart entangled within two crows. They're sharing the same heart. So again, symbolic of her relationship with Andrew, which is karmic. We know that from the lemniscape. And what connects them both, which is their two daughters. For me, this is like a compassion bridge of love. You can't tell whether the water's going across this way or going across this way. And it's what connects their love. Princess Beatrice and Eugenie acting like an anchor, a bridge of love, healing, like I said, compassion. It's what connects them. And whatever we feel about Fergie, whether we love her or whether we roll our eyes at her, Eugenie and Beatrice are her real legacy. The Two of Cups are just brimming with love and devotion for those daughters. So Fergie's life seen through the Two of Wands here reflects situations that have kind of left her life in limbo. Oh, I've just seen I've got a cat scratch there. We see the will being pulled in different directions. There's two paths. Do I do this or do I do that? And she's kind of often hanging between potential and restriction. She's frequently positioned as a bit of a watcher. We see again those emotional undercurrents here with the crow's tails dipped into the water. They'll be able to sense those currents, which way they're pushing and pulling. And often, you know, she's on the edge of the royal family events. She's on the edge with her daughter's prominence. She's on the edge, although divorced from Andrew, but still living together, never totally quite in exile, but not fully being part of the royal orbit either. So her choices have kept her in limbo. And with the Two of Swords, you know, we see that limbo again. So yeah, it's all about the emotional undercurrent of the push and the pull, when accepting money as well from questionable sources. This also left Fergie stuck in a public limbo of suspicion. We became suspicious about her and her motives. You know, yes, it offered her worldly opportunity, and maybe a little bit of security as well, but it all came with strings attached. So her world is balanced quite precariously, look, on these two wands, and on quite a fragile, I would say, branch of life also. So Fergie's other card is the Justice for her character card. And every time Fergie delays action, or perhaps chooses to take the easier path or route, or maybe, you know, that could be relying on Andrew, again, accepting dubious financial help, justice comes knocking for her. So the crow with the scales here reminds us she is continually being weighed up in the public eye. Her actions carry karmic echoes that kind of keep her tethered to a reputation that isn't, you know, that's a bit shaded, and the struggles as well. So personality wise, Justice highlights that she sometimes tries, emphasis on tries, to own her mistakes, even if she doesn't seem to learn. She's quite a slow learner, and I'm sure we can all be guilty of that at times. She doesn't, for me, fully own mistakes that she might have made. She's kind of like, I don't know, there's not a full lack of accountability, I feel. And of course, there's consequences for that, karmic consequences. So this kind of creates her life cycles, which is what I was talking about with the moon energy and the High Priestess, those cycles that keep repeating over and over. So it's kind of like hover, Two of Wands, and repeat her attempts at reinvention, but those reinventions never quite set her free. You know, the money seems to crumble and fall away, get spent, and these ventures only seem to kind of like circle her back round to the same crossroads, to the same cycle where choice and consequence meet again. So her life lesson from Justice is to stop seeking external rescue. Maybe that could be from Andrew or wealthy friends or public sympathy, and to stand on her own scales of truth and justice. And, you know, with honesty as her sword, accountability does bring freedom and brings her to her true self, her true sovereign self. Interesting that we get that little royal crown there, but it's not quite on the head of this crow. So her soul card is also the Emperor. So here we see the Emperor surrounded by mountains on a velvet throne, and her relationship with the Emperor feels, again, like the High Priestess, a little bit of a shadow dance. So the Emperor represents solidity, stability, control, boundaries, protection, law, order, worldly authority, discipline as well. And Fergie can be quite impulsive and emotional and sometimes a little bit reckless. And this is the opposite of the Emperor's energy of stability. So this means that she often struggles to embody the Emperor's traits. And yet she constantly seems to seek protection from those that do have those kind of traits, people like Epstein or the royal institution itself. And the Emperor reveals her as well ambivalence towards authority at times. She can rebel against authority and also cling to it. And the Emperor resembles or symbolises for me as well, not Fergie on this velvet throne, but Prince Andrew himself and the monarchy. And the Emperor reminds her that stability doesn't come from attachment to power outside of herself. So her lesson is to not sit at somebody else's throne like Andrew, but build her own throne, just like she was doing with her businesses, the Weight Watchers, the writing. All of that energy is way more aligned and closer to Emperor energy. That's where she needs to be. That's what she needs to be doing. But without fully integrating the Emperor's discipline and structure, those efforts become temporary rickety thrones for Fergie. So she really needs to build and keep it stable, kind of thing. So her other card, her other soul card, is the Death card. And the Death card is all about repeating endings so that you can get down and jiggy and comfortable with endings and really understand that they're a part of transformation and growth in this life. Now, transformation demands a lot of courage as well, and change isn't an option with this card. It's something that must be gone through in order to genuinely evolve. Now, Fergie's life is basically, shown a little bit like how to hover stylishly between scandal, reinvention, and royal chaos, while occasionally, writing a book about it. Her business, her books, her media ventures are all attempts to declare, I can transform, I can rule something. I can rule something, thank you very much. Every transformation, like the crow's wing beat, fleeting and like remnants of old chapters, fleeting fortunes left behind her, just like these crow's feathers here. And like the discarded feathers, she kind of flaps forward, ever resilient, ever performing her own version of metamorphosis. And I just want to wish her well. Let's hope that she can, at some point, one day, finally perch on her own throne and something that she can really call her own and claim the sovereignty that she's always sought in this life. And rise above everything that's gone before. Okay, let's just get into some charms, some oracles, and some pendulum readings. Actually, I think I'll start with pendulum today. So it's right for a yes, left for a no, up and down for a maybe, stop for a block. Okay, so one of the questions I'd really like to ask the pendulum is, does Sarah Ferguson respect Prince Andrew? Does she have any respect for Prince Andrew? Does Fergie have any respect for Prince Andrew? Does Fergie have any respect for Prince Andrew? You know, when you think about his money troubles and the countless affairs, I know they've both had affairs, and that's a no. Is there any unconditional love that she has towards Andrew? Is there any unconditional love that she has towards Andrew? My God, that's going to a no. Is it more of a financial arrangement that Sarah Ferguson lives in Royal Lodge with Andrew? Is it more of a financial arrangement, something that was, you know, for the kids as well, for Eugenie and Beatrice? Yeah, it's more of a financial thing. Okay. Does Prince Andrew respect Sarah Ferguson? Does Andrew respect Sarah Ferguson? Does Andrew respect Sarah Ferguson? Yes. So he respects her, she doesn't respect him. There's no unconditional love as far as she's concerned towards him. All for entertainment purposes only, guys, don't forget that. And yeah, it seems like it's more of a financial arrangement, her being at Royal Lodge, and it was for the kids as well. Okay, let's get into a oracle card or two. Now, I normally like to wait till I get flyers for these ones. Spirit has to work very hard for the flyers to come out, and sometimes they can really hold the whole reading together. So bear with me. Let's get some energy in there. Can you tell us anything, Spirit, please, around Sarah Ferguson, Fergie? What can you tell us about Sarah Ferguson? Anything we need to know, please? These are huge cards. Anything we need to know, please, about Sarah Ferguson? Okay, we've got one. What have we got? Territory. That's interesting. Because I was saying, wasn't I, about the Two of Wands, about her life. Sometimes looks like it's a little bit in limbo, like not fully part of the royal family, but not out of it entirely. On the edge with her prominence of her daughters, etc., etc. Interesting. Territory. I mean, crows, animals, they normally like to, you know, make a mark on where their territory is, not only just to defend themselves, but also as a form of identity, letting other crows know who they are. And yeah, that must be difficult. Half in, half out. Okay, let's go to the charms. Ooh, I've got 3. This one seems an interesting one to start with. Now, when I go back on her life's journey and look at the Two of that. Now, interestingly enough, in the charms, in this charm, sorry, there is no pentacles. But it's a lemniscape nevertheless. And this for me kind of like signifies a little bit of a karmic bond. So once the lemniscape is stripped of the money, the materialism, perhaps the worldly money affairs, whatever it is, there's still some kind of karmic thread, karmic bond that's left between Andrew and Fergie. These are two people, yeah? The legs, the arms, the head. It's something. There's a reason why they're together. They're learning their lessons together. Fascinating. We've next got a cube. How many sides to a cube, guys? 6 sides to a cube. And I'm just thinking about actually in Kabbalah, the cube is connected to the 6 directions of space. So, you know, up, down, north, south, east and west. And the cube is kind of like a symbol of being centered in all directions and all realms. And, you know, I'm thinking about territory again, you know, being centered and being in limbo. Being centered on her own throne is where she needs to be, in my opinion. And 7. Thinking of the 7-year itch. 7's quite a lucky number, isn't it? So I certainly hope that her luck changes, things become better for her. 7. Okay, I'm going to leave it there. Make of that what you will, guys. Drop your comments in the box below and I will be reading them later. I enjoyed that reading very much. She is an interesting character. And don't forget, if you'd like a private reading, please do get in touch. Email address is in the description box. You have a blessed rest of the day. I'm going to batten down the hatches and weather the storm inside. And I'll catch you later on the run. Bye for now.